They say life is a journey, and I am the fool. Hello everyone, I'm Madame Macabre, and welcome to part 2 of my How to Learn Tarot series. If you haven't seen my first video, I urge you to run over and check it out, where I cover numerology as well as the suits and how to build a strong foundation in being able to read tarot quickly. For today's video, we're going to be jumping right into the meanings of the cards. More specifically, we're going to be covering the Major Arcana. Now, for those of you who are new to the craft, the tarot is divided into 2 parts. You have the majority of the deck, which is the Minor Arcana, which have a lot to do with smaller interpersonal day-to-day life things. And then there is the smaller section, the 22 Major Arcana, which have to do with huge life cycles, big life decisions, the world around you, major chapters in your life. So today we're just going to do a rapid fire upright and reverse meanings. Of course, things can have more meanings and they can go more in depth for certain situations, but this is just general hotkeys so you can take notes and have a study guide. Alright, you ready? So, before we just jump right into it, one fun thing, with the original tarot deck, it's interesting to note that it's actually telling a story. Specifically, the story of the Fool as he works through all the phases of his life. Speaking of the Fool, we're gonna go to card number 0, the Fool. When in the upright position, the Fool represents a new beginning and a fresh start. He has very little emotional baggage holding him back. He moves forward with a positive outlook. And then, of course, when we switch the card upside down, which we call reverse in tarot, the meaning changes. In reverse, however, the Fool does represent naivety and foolishness. He is not thinking long-term and he is being risky. He is not thinking about the consequences of his actions and is charging forward thoughtlessly. Alternatively, this card in this position can also represent getting taken advantage of. So, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Next up, card number 1, the Magician. This card is telling you you have the power to manifest the things you want. You also have the skills and tools available to you. This is a sign that you simply need do it. And again, in reverse, this card is telling you that you have unused talents, unused potential. It's just latently sitting there. So, what are some things that you're good at that you haven't allowed yourself to fully explore? Also, do not use your skills to abuse others for your own gain. This can be a warning of the used car salesman type, those who use their charm to cause others harm. Number 2, we have the High Priestess. This card is telling you, listen to your gut. You have a good, strong intuition, a good sixth sense, if you will, and you need to listen to it because odds are when this card shows up, this is not a dilemma that can be solved with logic alone. In this case, your gut is going to have the answer for you. And moving over to reverse. In reverse, this card is telling you you need to start listening to your intuition. You have almost entirely closed it off so you can rely solely on logic alone, but we need both. Also, this card can alternatively mean that there is gossip and secret agendas under the surface that you don't know about, so be wary. Number 3, the Empress. The Empress is the card of sacred feminine energy. It has to do with nurturing, that motherly protective instinct. It also has to do with beauty and creativity, as well as your self-confidence. And the reverse meanings. The flip side, however, is when you take that too far and your motherly instincts have gone from nurturing to smothering the life out of someone. This card can also represent you suffering from a creative block, or even that you're struggling with your own confidence and self-image. And following in suit, number 4, we have the Emperor. As the Empress is to the sacred feminine, the Emperor is the sacred masculine. He is the father figure, the head of the family, the foundation, and the strong provider. He is the boss. He is ready to take actions and take the reins. And the reverse meaning? In reverse, this card speaks of stepping over the line from being a strong protector to a dictator. You are ruling with an iron fist through excessive control, rigidity, and inflexibility. Do not abuse your powers. Also, someone in your life could be this figure for you. Alternatively, it may be a sign that you are avoiding responsibility. It is time to stand up and move into that leadership position. Number 5, we have Mr. Heirophant. The Heirophant is all about tradition, religion, and group identity. You may be feeling compelled to join a new group. Now, this doesn't always have to do with faith or spirituality. This could be new hobbies, new communities, and things like that. Either way, you are craving these things in your life. You want that tradition. You want that foundation. Alternatively, if you are finding yourself uncontent, this is not the time to make waves. For your own safety, you have to go with the flow until a safer opportunity arises. And his reverse meaning? In reverse, however, you are not craving that tradition or group identity. You want to break free from it. You are sick of tradition. You are sick of the expectations, and you are over it. This is a sign that it is now time to make those waves. It can also be a sign that you are facing a lot of peer pressure from the group you identify with. Also, someone, usually religious, in an authoritative position, might be ruling over you with an iron fist and punishing everyone who doesn't conform. Next, number 6, the Lovers. Now, obviously, the Lovers is going to speak of love, but this isn't like the other relationship cards. This is true love. This is a true connection with something that you love. Your values are aligned. It's a full, true, complete connection. It can also refer to past lives, as well as speaking of big choices. We're talking life-altering decisions that cannot be rushed. And in reverse, it speaks of disharmony. There is trouble in paradise. You might find yourself falling out of love, and it's a deep schism because it's your values of who you are no longer in alignment. This card, speaking of decisions, can also say that you rushed into a decision, an important decision that should not have been rushed for instant gratification just to get it over with, and now you're regretting it. Finally, this could be something deeper. You could literally be at war with yourself and your own identity. Number 7, the Chariot. The Chariot is a powerful card that speaks of control and willpower, as well as victory and determination. This is a card telling you to harness that energy, harness that aggression, and use it to drive you forward and get things done. And next, the reverse. This crazy train has jumped the rails. You are out of control, you have no direction, and you're just filled with aimless aggression. It can also mean that you feel like you have no control over your life. You might be feeling directionless, dragged through life whichever way it wants to take you. Examine what you can do to change this. Also, make sure your aggression isn't being misplaced at others while you figure this out. Alternatively, you might need to let go of a little bit of control. You might be a micromanager, and this card is saying, don't be afraid to let someone else steer every now and then. Moving to number 8, we have Strength. Strength, obviously, is a very powerful card, but it speaks of multiple kinds of strength. Whereas the Chariot is that raw power, Strength is a more compassionate way of being strong. It's not just about crushing your enemies and getting your way. It's more having to do with the strength that comes from choosing to be kind, choosing to be forgiving and gentle. This has more to do with willpower and internal strength of spirit. And of course, the reverse meaning, this card speaks of weakness, being specifically that of self-doubt and a lack of discipline. You could be starting to doubt yourself and losing your self-esteem and confidence. Also, you might have suffered a painful setback that left you feeling weak. Remember that your inner strength will always be with you. reconnect with it. Then for number 9, we have the Hermit. Upright, this card speaks of taking time to yourself. This isn't a bad thing, like isolating yourself because you're sad or lonely. No, this is spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself, getting to like yourself. Sometimes we have to take that time. Don't worry about the world, worry about figuring out who you are and what you need. And the reverse meaning of this card, of course, in reverse, however, the meaning is the opposite, whereas you are lonely, you are isolated, and you are withdrawn. You might have taken too much time alone, and now it is time for you to get back out there. It's a sign that too much isolation can be just as bad as not spending any time with ourselves. You could be feeling really lonely and isolated regardless of the relationships in your life. And number 10, the Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune is an interesting card. It speaks of destiny and luck. When it is upright, it's speaking of good luck. Your luck is good right now. Lots of good things are happening. It's telling you if you feel like you need to roll the dice, the odds are in your favor right now, so take that gamble. Odds are it'll work out. Something that is important to keep in mind with the Wheel of Fortune is that life is like a great and mighty wheel. It's constantly spinning, constantly turning. The ups are going to be great when they're up, and the downs are going to suck when they're down, but regardless, it's not going to be forever, so take it for what it is. That mighty wheel is always turning. If you struggle, it will crush you, so just go with the flow. And then, of course, the reverse meaning. Much like how upright is good luck, when this card is in reverse, you are going through a spot of bad luck. There's negative external forces, things that are out of your control. Things have not been going your way, and maybe even changes have been forced on you and you're not happy about it. Now is not the time to make a gamble because luck is not in your favor. You need to be a little more cautious. But again, just like before, life moves in cycles. Things stink right now, but it's not forever. It's only so long until the wheel turns you upright again. Number 11, Justice. When in the upright position, Justice speaks of karma, or karma being at the heart of this situation. As above, so below, you will reap what you sow. Good or bad, it means it's going to come back to you eventually. And now the reverse. When this card appears to you reversed, it speaks of unfairness, like a lack of accountability and dishonesty. And this dishonesty being either of others or yourself. Somebody is dodging a bullet meant for them and letting it hit someone else, so to speak. Or you could be unfairly judging others or getting unfairly judged yourself. Number 12, the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is a card of stagnation, oftentimes by your own choice. You are stuck. Either something physical or emotional is keeping you trapped and unable to move on. The reality is, you're probably going to need to be willing to let something go to advance forward or to get what you want in the long run. And the reverse? This card tells a different story. It can be about indecision, delay, or even a warning not to be a martyr. You might be sacrificing way too much and getting almost nothing in return. Alternatively, you might be procrastinating dealing with something or putting off making a decision. It won't sort itself out, so you're gonna have to make a move. Lucky number 13, Death. Oh, the dreaded death. Well, quite frankly, you shouldn't dread it at all. Death oftentimes doesn't really have anything to do with literal death, more to do with change and regrowth. Endings are needed for new beginnings. So, just like with crops, the old must be cleared away so new things can begin to grow. Yeah, sometimes it will hurt, and you're allowed to mourn that, but ultimately keep in mind, new things are coming and they're gonna be beautiful. And of course, we have the reverse meaning. You are resistant to letting this change come. You're resistant to letting the old die. You just can't let it go and move on. But this card is telling you the only way to begin anew and move forward is to let it go. 14, Temperance. Upright, Temperance is a card of true and complete balance, the ability to see both sides of the situation. You are a true and natural mediator who can bridge the gap between feuding parties. And of course, the reverse. In reverse, this card is no longer about harmony. Now it's about imbalance and intolerance. It's also a potential warning that following a certain path will cause you to become imbalanced. Alternatively, you might be resisting and refusing to moderate a situation that only you have the power to see through to the end. And finally, it's a reminder that you must work to moderate and build bridges, not burn them. Number 15, the Devil. The Devil card is almost always a warning not to become enslaved to your own vices. You may be struggling with some sort of addiction, whether this be physical or entirely mental. Alternatively, you might be overly focused on things that are material and not actually that important. And then, of course, we have the reverse. This card can speak of breaking free and reclaiming your power. You are now at a point where you're ready to break free of your vices that had previously enslaved you. You can overcome bad habits, and you will free yourself and take back the power that was stripped from you. Number 16, the Tower. No, death is not the scary card. That honor is reserved for the Tower. Upright, the Tower represents sort of like the rug being pulled out beneath you. A sudden disaster. Your tower is crumbling to dust. Something very important to you was not built on solid enough foundations, so it's going to crumble. This could be relationships, jobs, anything like that. Either way, disaster is going to strike suddenly, and it's going to cause you to rethink everything. The reverse, of course, being... This card can speak of disaster avoidance or a fear of change. There may still be time to stop the tower from crumbling. This could show up as a warning to help prepare the lesson you need to learn to avoid the destruction that would otherwise happen. Alternatively, you might actually need this destruction, and you might be avoiding it desperately, even though you know in the long run, letting these things crumble is going to be the only way to get to positive change. 17. The Star. The Star is a message of hope. Hope is up there on the horizon. It may not be immediate, but it's there. It's a shining light to guide you away from a bad situation. It's the light at the end of a tunnel, so to speak, and it can also represent peace after a very trying time. And then we have the reverse. The star can represent despair and discouragement that has gotten the better of you and has stopped you from being able to see the optimism and see the light that's still up there. You might begin to feel so disengaged and uninspired with life that you're ready to just throw in the towel. You could be feeling completely jaded and having lost your motivation and are struggling to see the way out. But this card reminds you, the star is still up there, the light is still there. Don't lose track of it. 18. The Moon. The Moon is a card of illusion, of fear, anxiety, and your subconscious. This can sometimes represent past trauma affecting how you're seeing things now, and you're creating illusions of things that aren't there. Nothing may be as it seems, so please be careful of making rash decisions. You're really gonna need to trust your intuition right now and see beyond these illusions. Like the moon in the sky, your intuition needs to be the thing that guides you safely home through the dark. And we have the reverse. This card says that you have been trapped by your fears and anxieties, but you know what? They're finally beginning to dissipate. You're finally coming out the other side of this thing. Alternatively, you might find yourself unhappy with your current situation, but you're feeling lost and confused and you don't know how to change things. This card is telling you that you have to be ready to confront these fears and overcome them if you want to be able to find the light of the moon and move forward. 19. The Sun. The glorious Sun, the other one of my favorite cards in this deck. The Sun will never be a bad card. It represents positivity, success, warmth, and vitality. burning bright, taking strength from the sun to carry you through any dark time you face. You are simply radiant. And our reverse? Remember how I said the sun can never be a bad card? Yep, even in reverse. This card speaks of a temporary depression, a lack of success, and just struggling to find the positive in things lately. That being said, this card reminds you of how strong and resilient you are, and it tells you, are you gonna let that diminish your light? No, you are powerful, you have what you need. The sun is gonna come back brighter and stronger than ever before. And of course, alternatively, this card could also act as a warning that you are being a little too unrealistically optimistic, and while optimism is great, make sure you are keeping your feet on the ground and not being dangerous. Number 20. Judgment. So even though it's called Judgment, it doesn't actually have anything to do with judicial stuff. That would be the Justice card. Judgment refers to your purpose, the meaning of your life, your existence. What is your calling? This card is telling you to rise up and embrace it. You are reaching a significant stage in your journey, and if you haven't found your meaning, your purpose yet, you're on the cusp of it. And of course, the reverse, it can speak of self-doubt and a refusal of self-examination. Perhaps you've been giving in to self-doubt and this is causing you to miss opportunities. Alternatively, you might be struggling with figuring out who you are as a person and what your purpose is. Maybe you thought you knew what your purpose was and then everything changed. You're going through a temporary period and it's gonna be all right. You will find out again. And finally, the very last card of the Major Arcana, the World. This card, just like its position at the end of the Major Arcana, represents completion, integration, and accomplishment, and in the most literal sense, travel. You are finally feeling whole or complete. This could represent the ending of a cycle, a graduation, a marriage, or even a birth. If you are not yet at the point of completion, this card is telling you you are getting darn close. And then finally, of course, back to travel, this could quite literally speak of going somewhere else in the world. And finally, the reverse. This card speaks of a lack of completion, a lack of closure. You are struggling to reach a goal. You may be close to a goal, but now you find yourself losing motivation or it's slipping through your fingers. This could also be a lack of closure that is preventing you from moving forward. Or maybe a desired change in your life is gonna have to be delayed, requiring more time and work, so that finish line is gonna have to be pushed back whether you like it or not. And then in the literal sense, your travel plans may have fallen through or gone bad. So, there we have it, guys! You officially know all of the Major Arcana! Obviously, there's going to be deeper and more meanings, but with what we've taken note on here, you can officially start to read tarot, at least the Major Arcana. Everything else, don't worry, we're gonna be covering the Minor Arcana next. We're gonna be starting with the suit of Wands, of Fire, so be sure to tune in there to get all the meanings on those cards as well. Since we've reached the end of today's lesson, as usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. And as always, my friends, stay safe and merry met. All right, catch you later.